I've officially completed Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. So that means it's time to review it. Originally a 2015 Wii U console exclusive, Xenoblade Chronicles X is an open world sci-fi RPG developed by the GOATs, Monolith Soft. And the Definitive Edition brings the game to the Switch with updated visuals, smoother UI, quality of life improvements, and even an added story chapter. You play as a customizable avatar who joins Blade, an organization fighting for humanity's survival on the alien world of Mira. Just a warning, this review does contain light gameplay spoilers, and I'm going to make sure I don't spoil any of the story. So let's start off with the pros of this game. Right from the beginning, you're faced with the option to customize your own character, and you can make them however you want them to look, as long as it's within the constraints of the character creation system. And this actually fits well within the narrative because the focus of the story is let me just say it this way: you're not the main character of the story. You're just a player within the story, and it's actually your party member who is the actual main character of the story, and you're technically their supporting character. Next, Mira is absolutely massive. There's like 5 continents that you can explore, and each continent looks vastly different from the others. And within the continents themselves, there are some differences in how they look. This map is filled with FN sites. If you play like Breath of the Wild, that's kind of like the Sheikah Towers, and they uncover surrounding areas, and the FN sites themselves can be used to mine materials to make like other stuff. And the world feels incredibly alive, even in the starting area. So starting area is like New Los Angeles, and you have to depart outside of New Los Angeles to get like everywhere. And just outside New Los Angeles, you'll see like high level, like level 80 enemies alongside the level 1 enemies, or not level 1, but like, you know what I mean, low level enemies. And that's just, it's called ludonarrative harmony, which is where the gameplay and the story like work with each other, something like that. This like the existence of these level 80 plus, I don't know, level 60 plus monsters within every zone makes the exploration feel much more impactful, because you're actually exploring an alien planet where, like, if you interact with the wrong foe, you're gonna die in one shot, in one hit. And let's just say this game has the best combat out of every Xenoblade game that I've played, which is 1, 2, and 3. The combat has a class system which lets you level up into one of 8 final classes, and you can switch between these final classes, or like level into them at, like, you can switch between them at any point in the game. And personally, I went with the AR and Greatsword build, and I don't know if that's the best build or not, but I did have a lot of fun with the combat, and I think I did a lot of damage. I don't know. I've been watching like meta videos and all that, so like I don't know. And in the combat, there's a mechanic called overdrive, and this lets you deal a massive amount of damage for a limited amount of time. And depending on the string of attacks that you do during overdrive, you have additional effects, such as extending the duration of overdrive. You also get like class XP up, and I don't know, like rewards up or something like that. And you also have gear customization, where you can like do like augments and all that to get bonus stats. And you just have like stats in general. Each gear gives you different amount of stats. If you're a theory crafter, you're gonna love this game because there's a lot of depth when it comes to this stuff, and a lot of build variety as well. This game also has something called scales, which are in this game's version of mechs. And if this game didn't have scales, I would rate this game much lower. But scales are like amazing. It's like absolute cinema, guys. Okay, I spent hours like farming materials to like get the best gear for my scale, and just like coming up with a build in the first place. And my damage output is absolutely insane. I melted like the final boss in like, I don't know, like a minute or two. That's how goated my build was. And I would say every second of that is worth it, because it's just satisfying to see like a huge boss health bar just like melt, you know. And scales also kind of change how you explore the world. Before you unlock scales, you only can explore like on feet, so you have to carefully navigate your way around, make sure you don't like get hit by, I don't know, like a level 80 enemy or something like that. But with scales, initially when you unlock scales, you don't have the ability to fly with them, but you can jump pretty high, and that also changes a bit. But after chapter 9, you will unlock actual flight with the scales, and you can just fly over anything you want, honestly. And that kind of, I would say it's like two different games, one on foot, one on scale, and all that. And one underrated thing about this game is that how the cutscenes are directed. The camera feels pretty, I would say, dynamic and alive. If you play like Metal Gear Solid 5, you know how they have like the hand camera, like that sort of like handheld camera feeling. This that also exists in this game, and I'm pretty sure these games did come out in the same year. So I don't know, was this like a trend back then? I don't know. It's been 10 years, insane. And the combat direction, like with like scale combat and all that, it's like extremely flashy, like eye candy s. And I'd love to see more of like this cutscene direction in future Xenoblade games. So now, unfortunately, there are some cons that we had to go over in this game. Some are like minor nitpicks, and then there's like one major glaring issue. So my minor nitpick is scale insurance. So each scale starts off with 3 insurance, and every time you die in combat with the scale, you have to pass a quick time event to escape the scale. And if you fail the quick time event, your scale insurance drops by 1. And if your scale insurance gets to 0, then you have to scrap your scale and then buy a new scale. And scales are pretty expensive, I'm not gonna lie, in this game. So I feel like this mechanic kind of isn't necessary. I heard in the Wii U version of the game, scales had 10 insurance to start off with. And I think if it was 10, I probably wouldn't have this issue whatsoever, because 10 is quite a lot. You're not gonna be, I mean, the quick time event is not like, it's pretty hard to fail the quick time event, but like it's kind of annoying because every time you die, you have to warp back to the barracks, and then you have to like, I don't know, like fix your scale. So like you kind of have to like keep warping back every time you die in combat with the scale, and kind of gets annoying, especially in like the later chapters where you have more bosses and all that. So like you kind of have, if you die in combat with your scale to a boss, you have to warp back, repair it, and then come back to the boss again, rather than like just like when you respawn, it respawns with you, something like that. So I think like starting with like 10 insurance or just removing the feature altogether would be a huge plus for the game. The biggest issue of this game, unfortunately, is the story. I would say this story is like decent. It's just decent, like compared to other Xenoblade games, this is easily the worst out of all the Xenoblade stories. I would say this game is kind of like an inverse of Yakuza 7. So in my opinion, Yakuza 7 had like peak story, but like decent gameplay. But this is the opposite, where you have peak gameplay with decent story. So the reason the story I don't feel is that strong is that because most of the narrative until like you get to those last 4 chapters is just development of like these surrounding characters and like world building. It's not that bad, but that first 75% of the game doesn't have that many major story events, and that kind of hurts the pacing a bit. I feel like if it was paced better, this would be much less of an issue. Because like the plot itself is fine. It's just like how it's structured that's where the issue is. And I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I do appreciate the inclusion of the new chapter, which is chapter 13, and it I don't know, spoiler alert, close your ears. It tells us how Xenoblade X fits into the rest of the numbered games. Kind like the ending kind of tells you why or like how it feels. I don't know, man. But like it says, it kind of fits it into that rest of those games. That's pretty much it. Overall, I would say Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is a great game. If you're a fan of like scale combat, massive worlds, and deep customizable combat, I would highly recommend this game. And I would give this game a mid to high 8. If you guys enjoyed the review, make sure to comment down below what game you want to see me review next. Make sure to leave a like and have a nice day.